Welcome back. It is Hard Factor 90.3 Nigeria Info and here in Port Harcourt. I'm Dio, and it is 30 minutes gone past 4 p.m. Conversation continues. Thanks for staying tuned. And we delve right into the next matter up for discussion at this time. PPPRA removes new petrol price post as NNPC insists no hike. Now, here's a bit of the story. Nigeria's fuel regulators appear to have walked back on the government's sudden decision to increase petrol price Thursday, with the PPPRA deleting a post announcing the huge increment, while the NNPC repeated its earlier claim there will be no increase in March. Now, the decision came after Nigerians furiously reacted to the new rates that put the pump price of petrol at between 209 naira and 212 naira a litre, a significant jump from the about 162 naira it was before. Now, the increase put the lie to the NNPC's earlier assurance that the government would not change prices despite the global crude oil price rebound. And as Nigerians woke Friday to the news, harshly criticizing the government, the NNPC tweeted its position remained a clear contradiction of the PPPRA's announcement. Now, later, it became the PPPRA's guiding price online post had been removed. The agency updated its website instead with details of the availability of fuel stock in the country as of Friday. It was not immediately clear whether the decision to delete the post signaled a reversal of the price hike by government. The announcement of a new price came amid a partial scarcity of fuel that has lingered for weeks, with filling stations clogged by cars queuing to buy petrol. And there had been concerns government, which says it has deregulated the sector and no longer pays subsidy, would raise rates as crude oil prices have seen a rebound in a global market. Premium Times reported Wednesday that the scarcity in Abuja, Lagos and other cities were caused by depot owners hoarding the product and raising prices in anticipation of a hike by the government. What exactly is going on is what we're discussing right now. Now, I did mention earlier when I was supposed to have an official of Pangerson on the show today who was due to join via phone, but I got a call a while ago saying he unfortunately would not be joining the conversation today. Hopefully next week we'll work on that. But I do have in the studio joining me nonetheless for this conversation, rights activist, all-round good guy. He's with We the People, Ken Henshaw. Ken, good evening to you. Great to have you on the show today.
Good evening, Dio. Thanks for having me.
Ken, do you know what's going? Do you have an idea what's going on? Because I think what's going on in the heads of most Nigerians right now is what the heck is going on as far as the pump price of petrol in the country is concerned. How does the PPPRA, who by the way, it is its responsibility to quote unquote determine the price, because it's quite confusing these days, really. The federal government says it has deregulated, it doesn't fix prices anymore. Then you had the PPPRA. I'm not sure there's any other way to describe it other than say that the PPPRA has been fixing prices, but you don't fix prices when you have market forces supposed to determine what the prices will be. Then we heard reports that prices will not go up. By the way, when you have a deregulated market, prices inevitably will go up if prices of crude goes up. So it was anticipated the prices will go up as international price of crude was going up. Labour reportedly has been in some negotiations with government for a while now over price of PMS petrol and price of electricity tariff as well. We haven't heard what the result of that is conclusively. And then PPPRA releases something saying prices are going up. NNPC says no. Then check out the website and it's gone. Do you know what's going on?
Well, there's a whole lot of confusion, yeah, and the language is mixed. And so what I imagine is going on is the government is a bit confused between the political ideology of the regulation, which is fundamental, capitalism, right, and the political ideology of public ownership, socialism, okay, where it subsidizes one of the commanding heights of the economy. So there's a confusion. I mean, like you said, Dio, you cannot have an agency of the federal government whose primary role and responsibility is the is the fixing of prices for a product and the regulation of prices. What do you mean by regulation of prices? It means that you have your eyes even at the retail market to make sure that filling stations are selling at a particular price. So I read the statement of the PPPRA this morning, and they said that while they were doing that job of monitoring the markets, regulating pricing, fixing pricing, they were also at the same time allowing market forces to play. What do you mean? This is, a year one student in economics understand that is rubbish. Okay, so if you allow market forces play, it simply means that you allow the forces of demand and supply to dictate the prices of goods and services. Okay, in the case of petroleum products, you allow the marketer import his product from whichever market he chooses to and sell it to retailers at whatever price he wishes to sell. Okay, and the retailer on the other hand sells at whatever rate he wishes to sell. Okay, so you cannot have the same price for petrol in a place like let's say the petroleum products comes to Nigeria through Bonny terminals. This is important. It comes to Bonny terminal. The price of petrol in Bonny or in Port Harcourt for that matter will certainly not be the same price as in Sokoto, where you have to hire tankers, 33,000 liter tankers, and transport them over a period of 2-3 days to Sokoto to sell. The landing cost will no longer be the same. So now that is market forces fighting. So somebody cuts off 50 naira, another person cuts off 100 naira. You see market forces fighting, and then the consumer decides, listen, that's the cheapest price. It's like making bread, okay? So even in the city of Port Harcourt, you have got bread at different qualities, different sizes, and different amounts. Those are market forces fighting. So you shouldn't even have a PPPRA, an agency responsible for deregulating, and that agency is at the same time saying market forces will sort themselves out. Come on, man, that's double speak. And Adedayo, come on, it shows the utter and total confusion of this government in the last 6 years plus. Total confusion. You're not clear. What is your ideological bearing? When you say you're going into deregulation, what does deregulation mean? It means that the government is taking its hands off the system, okay, of procuring petrol, diesel, products. That's what it means. That market forces are taking charge. But right now, guess who imports all the petrol, the refined product we use? Is the NNPC. Who is the NNPC? It's a government parastatal, a very corrupt government parastatal, I may add. And so there's all this confusion happening. So today, Guardian broke the news that the Guardian and People's Gazette on Twitter broke the news that the PPPRA had published on their website that the landing cost, they have a template of pricing, that the landing cost of PMS petrol is 212.61 kobo. That is the landing cost. They released that. So their job, let's be clear, PPRA, the agency responsible for pricing and regulation, released the landing cost of petrol. What does that simply mean? That's an advice to retailers that this is the new landing cost of petrol, so adjust your meters. And so people immediately go adjusting their meters. My friend in a back bought for 115 naira a liter. A couple of people bought for 110 in Port Harcourt, 200, 209, 212 in Port Harcourt. And then they pulled down the website. They pulled down the post on the website and said what they posted there was just what they are posting. It doesn't mean that prices should change. What do you mean? But there's only one way out of this. It simply means that, if the landing cost of petrol, PMS, in the country is 212 naira 61 kobo, if that's the landing cost, and then we are selling it at the filling station for 175 naira, it simply means that the difference between 212 and 175 is being subsidized by the government. If it is being subsidized by the government, that means we're back in fuel subsidy. So where did fuel subsidy come in? Because in the 2021 budget, there is no fuel subsidy. So where did fuel subsidy come in? And can we have fuel subsidy while still speaking about deregulation? And so, Dayo, you asked if I can make sense of what's going on. I think it's an absolute mess. My attempt to make sense out of it confuses me more.
How can the government say that it wants market forces to take charge, to determine prices? Because we've been at this for since last year now. And like you rightly pointed out, and it was interesting you went there, because that was going to be my next question or my next direction. The NNPC, an agency of government, is solely responsible for importing this product, and then you claim to have deregulated that sector, that market, and you say that you want market forces to determine the prices. How is that even possible? Because only one person, there is an absolute monopoly here. Only one person is importing the product. That person determines how much they're going to. That agency, NNPC, determines what the landing cost is.
Yeah.
Determine how much they're going to sell to the tank farm owners.
Yeah.
And then the tank farm owners probably put a slight margin on it and then sell to the eventual marketers.
Yeah.
How can we have that template, that scenario, and talk about deregulation and market forces doing anything?
It's an absolute joke. Okay, I disagree. I honestly and completely disagree with deregulation. I do not think that if you need to deregulate anything, you should deregulate the petroleum sector. I mean, the supply of petrol. I don't think you should deregulate that.
Why?
So Dayo is funny, yeah, and I've heard it a lot. I've heard a lot of scenarios. People have made arguments, very interesting and exciting arguments.
I mean, just for conversation's sake, I play the devil's advocate here.
Yeah.
But one argument possibly would be the petrol subsidy scam. We can't forget that in a hurry.
Yeah.
Where it was quote unquote deregulated. Well, I mean, maybe not fully, anyways. But individual marketers were allowed to go out, source for it, bring it in, and then government pays them and pays some subsidy on it to ensure that Nigerians are able to get it at a reasonable price. But we all can't forget in a hurry how that turned out into a horrible mess eventually.
Yes, Dayo. So I was in the mix in 2011, 2012. I was part of the protest, even in Port Harcourt, in Benin City, and so on and so forth. The fuel subsidy uprising, I was part of it. And the argument, I wrote a piece then which I can share with you. The argument was simple. You were not subsidizing petrol. You were subsidizing your corruption. That's what you were subsidizing. So look, before we even start calculating subsidy on any product, the first thing you need to find out is how much of that product is being consumed. Do you know that up till today, in 2012, and even up till today, we do not know exactly the quantity of petrol in liters being consumed in this country daily? So how much are you subsidizing? The government doesn't know. Okay, so the argument back then was a certain number of millions of liters of petrol and diesel leave the borders of Nigeria to neighboring countries like Cameroon, Benin Republic, and so on and so forth. And the question was simple. And if you calculate the number they quoted, it amounted to thousands of tankers daily, marching out of our borders daily. And then the blame for that inefficiency and that corruption, you passed it on to Nigerians. Okay? 60% of them are living below the poverty line. You pass the blame of your inefficiency in managing, such a... And Dayo, I've also heard the argument, right? That no country in the world, and probably Kola was going to say that. I mean, it's cliche now that nobody supports consumption. Nobody subsidizes consumption. We subsidize production. That's Bretton Woods English. That's IMF, World Bank, trashy talk. Petrol in Nigeria is not consumption. Petrol is production. All the small, in a country where you do not have electricity, right? Most of the small and medium scale businesses run on petrol. So right now, you are using petrol right here in this studio, probably running your massive generators. Is that consumption or production? That's production. That's not consumption. In a country where you do not have any kind of decent public transportation, and people have to depend on privately owned buses and so on, right, for public transportation. What do you call that? Consumption or production? That's production. That's the fact. The role petrol plays in the UK or in the US is not the same role petrol plays in Nigeria. It's a different thing. It's tied to everything. Immediately, look, colleagues of mine, Cross River Watch, okay, called me, and they were doing a market survey at 12 noon today. They went to the market doing a market survey to see what has changed in a few hours, 5 hours after the attempt at increase of petrol price. And food prices had gone up by at least 30%. That's what petrol means. It's not consumption. And people make that mistake every time.
I just thought to point this out when you're talking about based on the new, or what was the new PPPRA's template for determining the so-called new price of P, or simply taking on the website now. According to that template, the PPPRA said the expected landing cost is 189 naira 61 kobo. Then you have several other charges and additions, which now brought it up to about 212 naira or thereabouts. Now, that said, by the way, feel free to join the conversation via Twitter. We're live on it at Nigerians for PH, facebook.com/Nigerians for PH also. and WhatsApp on 0809 030 641 The phone lines will be open shortly. That said, what could have happened with the PPPRA? Putting that up on its website. Could somebody have made a mistake? Was it an error? And then somebody realized, maybe the webmaster, I don't know, made a mistake in updating the website, and then realized, oh my goodness, that's a mistake, and then goes to amend the website again. What do you think happened with that?
I think somebody was given the responsibility of doing the right job. Yeah, and the right job is to look at the bill of lading and all that, and then compute the landing costs, current landing costs. Let's not forget that something has happened also in the last few weeks. The price of crude oil went up, and that's the reality. On the one hand, we pray in Nigeria that the price of crude oil goes up. The raw material, the major raw material for the production of diesel and petrol is crude oil. Immediately crude oil price goes up, the Nigerian federal government earns more. States earn more from 13% derivation, but something else happens. The price of petrol goes up. And why is that? And that's really the elephant in the room. Why does it affect us that much? It affects us because we are not refining our own product. That's the major reason. So you can draw a complex map of how we get our petrol, right? So in the oil fields of Nigeria, we extract crude oil, and then we share the proceeds. We extract crude oil in joint venture partnerships, and then we sell it to major crude oil traders. It could be Vitol, Trafigura, and all those crude oil dealers. They take it out and go and sell it to refineries in Brazil, in the UK, wherever, okay, in Europe. They sell it to refineries. Those refineries pay staff, generate power, refine the products, and all that, okay? And then we go back there and buy the same gasoline, the same petrol that we have refined abroad, put them inside ships, pay for those ships to bring them into Nigeria. That's called landing cost. The fact is this, that you look at it critically. The price we pay, the difference we pay for petrol is the cost of our inefficiency. Listen, it's the cost of inefficiency. And what's the inefficiency? It is the fact that in the last 30 years plus, all our 4 refineries have become comatose, and we have not been able to resurrect them and refine petrol for ourselves. What is the government doing with its inefficiency? Through deregulation, it is passing the buck of its inefficiency on Nigerians. Hey, we have not been able to create refineries or resuscitate the 4 refineries that have an installed capacity of 425,000 barrels. We have not been able to do all that because we are, simply put, very, very inefficient. So listen, we're inefficient, therefore please bail us out of our inefficiency.
So if somebody at PPPRA was simply doing their job and competing, because it is logical. If we are deregulating, if the price of crude goes up, naturally the price of petrol is going to go up also. Which is why I was kind of confused when Labour was all over the place, jumping around recently, when the pump price of petrol went up. Because when government was announcing it was deregulating, you didn't jump around that. The inevitable result of deregulation is that when price of crude goes up, PMS price will go up.
Absolutely.
So why didn't you jump around when government announced it was deregulating? Yeah. But then again, that's another matter for another day. Or maybe part of this conversation anyways. And now that the guy at the PPPRA, very likely, was doing his job and simply did the relevant computations and said, okay, based on these parameters, this is what the price should be now. If what we are witnessing is a reversal and government not implementing, and I use a big if there, what has happened? Is this still deregulated or it is no longer deregulated?
Okay, so this is what I think is going on. Nigeria, one of the ways that this government has been able to stop fuel scarcity from hitting hard, right, has been to tinker with the prices, continuously, let the price flow. It keeps, this government has adjusted the price of petrol at least 5-6 times, since inception, 6-7 times since inception. Yeah, that's one way that's handled it. But another way this government has been able to handle supply of product is by having massive storage. So even the PPRA said it, that they have got a storage of gasoline, of product that can last 31 to 35 days. if it's distributed in Nigeria, right? So this is what could be happening, Dayo. I'm not sure of this, but this is what I suspect could be happening. Maybe since they already have storage of products that were bought at a landing cost of 175 naira, yeah, previously last month of February, maybe they want to introduce this new increase gradually. So rather than rush and update the template on the website, which will now make all the retailers run to their pumps and start adjusting and start selling for 212 rather, right? They now want to keep using the supply from February and then increase it gradually until in a month's time we'll be dealing with 212, 215.
But then again,
that's my suspicion.
Are the depot owners going to get fooled by that? Because we're hearing already that in some major cities in the country there was some partial scarcity already, and upon investigation, reports have it that the reason is that the depot owners are holding the product because they had sensed that something was going to happen. I mean, you don't have to be Houdini or Einstein to figure this one out. The international price of crude is going up. Naturally, the petrol price is going to go up also.
Yeah.
And that's what was going on. So even if the federal government decides to, tap into our reserves right now, the depot owners still know what's going on. They still know that this thing is going to go up eventually anyways. So is it not simply, are the depot owners going to just go on and then just keep selling because they have a supply when they know once again eventually the price is going to go up? They're not going to want to maximize profit.
Well, so this government is really good at managing this kind of internal conversation. Believe me, I think this government can even pay subsidy without anybody knowing, quietly. I think it has happened before. They've been able to control the market, by managing subsidy. I think it has happened before in this period. It has happened before. Subsidies have been paid. I mean, there was a time budget found subsidy in the budget hidden somewhere, or budget performance report we saw subsidy somewhere. It happened at a point.
I know one time there was a funny phrase that was coined for it. It
yes, for subsidy. Yeah,
it was called something. I've forgotten that phrase again. And of course, that literally
it meant subsidy.
Simply meant subsidy.
It meant subsidy. So we've seen that there's a possibility that could happen, but it's actually a quagmire. Okay, this is a fix. This is really a fix. Okay, on the one hand, up till this afternoon, the Minister of State for Petroleum, TPP Silva, went out and said that was a mix-up. His exact words was a mix-up, and the price of petrol has not gone up. You can't say that. I mean, it's double speak, really. In a deregulated market, your landing cost is 212 because the price of crude oil has gone up. Of course, the price of petrol is going to go up, naturally, because you're importing refined products. So in terms of solution, Dayo, which I think is what we need to dwell in more.
We'll get to the solution in a moment. 24 to go before 5 p.m. A quick break, commercial break now. We'll return in a bit. We'll get to Ken's solution, and we'll get your take on the conversation as well. Do please stay with us. Hard Facts returns shortly.
Connect with your customers. Advertise on 92.3 Nigeria Info. Visit our downtown office at Shop 9, Mediatrix of All Gracies Plaza, opposite FIRS, Stadium Road, Port Harcourt, and book your commercials. Call 0817-001-8162. That is 0817-001-8162. And let us connect you to your customers.
We crossfire in the morning. Get into the midday dialogue and tell you about the hard facts, and then let's talk into the chat station. All for you on 92.3 Nigeria Info. We crossfire in the morning. Get into the midday dialogue and tell you about the hard facts, and then let's talk into the chat station. All for you on 92.3 Nigeria Info. We crossfire in the morning. Get into the midday dialogue and tell you about the hard facts, and then let's talk into the chat station. All for you on 92.3 Nigeria Info. We crossfire in the morning. Crossfire in the morning. Get into the midday dialogue and tell you about the hard facts, and then let's talk into the chat station. All for you on 92.3 Nigeria Info. We crossfire in the morning. Crossfire in the morning. Get into the midday dialogue and tell you about the hard facts, and then let's talk into the chat station. All for you on 92.3 Nigeria Info. We crossfire in the morning. Crossfire in the morning. Get into the midday dialogue and tell you about the hard facts, and then let's talk into the chat station. All for you on 92.3 Nigeria Info. We crossfire in the morning. Crossfire in the morning. Get into the midday dialogue and tell you about the hard facts, and then let's talk into the chat station. All for you on 92.3 Nigeria Info. We crossfire in the morning. Crossfire in the morning. Get into the midday dialogue and tell you about the hard facts, and then let's talk into the chat station. All for you on 92.3 Nigeria Info. We crossfire in the morning. Crossfire in the morning. Get into the midday dialogue and tell you about the hard facts, and then let's talk into the chat station. All for you on 92.3 Nigeria Info. We crossfire in the morning. Crossfire in the morning. Get into the midday dialogue and tell you about the hard facts, and then let's talk into the chat station. All for you on 92.3 Nigeria Info. We crossfire in the morning. Crossfire in the morning. Get into the midday dialogue and tell you about the hard facts, and then let's talk into the chat station. All for you on 92.3 Nigeria Info. We crossfire in the morning. Crossfire in the morning. Get into the midday dialogue.
Listen to me, I said this is a real situation and the government has to do something about it. What are you trying to insinuate? All these people looting Nigeria's money?
This is Nigeria Info, in the heart of Nigeria. 92.3. We are Nigeria Info.
And now, Hard Facts.
Hard facts with Diode.
Welcome back to the Hard Factor 92.3 Nigeria Info and her input Harkat and Dyer. 19 to go before 4 p.m. My guest Ken Henshaw of We the People, still here in the studio. Ken, you're welcome once again.
Thank you, Dyer.
And we're discussing the situation with the pump price of petrol. Because right now, as confusing as the entire situation is, not sure if there's been an increase or there's been, pardon me, no increase, as the case is. Ken, before we went on the break, you were about to talk about solutions to this situation. But before the solutions, one quick question. It's also been suggested that what the PPPRA did last night this morning was to test the waters. See how Nigerians would react to an inevitable increase in the pump price of petrol. Is that a possibility?
I think you've used the word already. Inevitable. This is inevitable. It's going to happen. I mean, look, the price of petrol will be increased. The price of products will be increased. And I do not need to see the PPRA framework to know that the landing cost has gone up. The fact that the price of crude oil has gone up and Nigeria is earning more, right, simply tells you that the major ingredient for making petrol and diesel has gone up. So the price must go up as long as you lay claim. So two things will happen. The only way prices will not go up is if subsidy is paid. That's the only way prices will not go up. Without subsidy, prices will go up. So you can have both. Yeah, it's either you reintroduce subsidy and keep the prices at 175, or you insist on a deregulated market.
So was government testing the waters?
No, I don't think they were testing the waters. I think somebody did his job, like I said earlier, and posted the template. That person, whoever that person is responsible for getting the current landing cost from the current sole importers of refined product, which is the NNPC. He got his brief. He went to the website, talked to the IT people, gave them the whatever, the retinue, they updated the site. As usual with Nigeria, nobody has thought it through to say, hey, listen, let's not do this at this time. This is what to do. And the marketers, the retailers always go there to see, why do you update that site? Why do you continuously update that site, giving people information about the landing cost? Why is it necessary? Especially if that detail is being released by an agency responsible for two things, pricing and regulation. Why do you release that information? So that people can look at the dashboard and adjust prices and see the new regulations. That's the job of that portal. And they did their job. And everybody in the filling stations increased the prices. That the job was done. So I don't think they were testing waters. I think that they would have managed it a bit better. And they would have managed it a bit better. And the timing is pretty wrong. The country is in real mess. It's in a real mess. I mean, the security challenges, difficulties everywhere. So they have not. I don't think that the government and its handlers have had a meeting about how to handle the situation. That meeting will be had, and two things will happen: either we reintroduce subsidy and maintain the current cost of 175 a liter, or we continue with the deregulation and we do a price above 210.
Oh, let's get the solutions then. What solutions are required at this time? And so,
like I said previously, what we are paying these exceptionally high rates for, from 65 naira, we've been going up, dancing with the price of petrol and all that, is that we need to start refining this product ourselves. We need to refine it. Guess what, Dayo? Port Harcourt refinery, the refiners in Port Harcourt, in Warren, Kaduna, and all that, they're not refining nothing. But do you know what? People resume there every morning at 7:30 and clock in. People retire, get paid salary. Normal work is going on at the refineries. Go and check. Yeah? And these refineries, engineers are working. And year in, year out, decade in, decade out, these refineries produce nothing. And this government, and indeed the previous government, came in with the same argument. We are going to build refineries. The current government at the federal level even told us that they gave us a time frame. In this period, we'll build this number of refineries. They went ahead to give licenses out to people to construct modular refineries. Only one or two have actually taken that challenge up. Massive refinery licenses were given out. Only Dangote has taken it up. And Dangote is building a refinery for export purposes. It's in an export zone, yeah? For export purposes. Most of what Dangote will refine, I mean, Dangote is a businessman. It's not going to refine it, so it's going to sell at competitive market rates. If the landing cost of petrol in Nigeria is 212, as the PPPRA template said, Dangote will probably give you a 210. Okay? To make you buy from him so you don't. He's a businessman. So if people think that he'll give you a 20, you're joking. You're not going to be giving him crude oil for free. He's going to be buying crude oil, paying staff, and generating power at competitive market rates. The only thing the government can do to cut the costs of petrol is by refining. We need to deliberately start building refineries and refining our own products. But even before we do that, Dayo, we need to find out what is the local consumption rate in Nigeria. How much diesel and petrol do we consume on a daily basis? That's one solution. We start refining locally. But we can also reduce...
I'd like to imagine that we do have those figures. I mean, how else can any agency of government say we have a stockpile that would last us for the next 31 to 35 days if we had no idea how much we consume?
Okay, so during the fuel subsidy uprising, 2011, towards the end of 2011, 2012, I followed proceedings because I was neck deep in that protest. And one of the things that came up when they were discussing was that there was a lot of fraud in the calculation of subsidy, and the fraud was actually based on the consumption, number of liters consumed in the country daily. And then an APC governor, Comrade Adams Oshiomhole, and I use comrade in inverted commas, Adams Oshiomhole said, I quote him, that even if Nigerians drink petrol like pure water, they cannot consume 36 million liters a day. End quote. Adams Oshomole. What am I trying to say? That there has always been lies about the actual consumption rate. Look, Dayo, you're in the beautiful city of Port Harcourt, okay, where the boundaries and borders are well defined. Go to border states, places like a Cross River, with borders around Cameroon, and go to Lagos and all those areas, right? There are no borders, really. Okay, they come in, buy what they like, goes. The level of movement of product between these places. So it was argued that at a point we are feeding neighboring countries with our subsidy. It was argued that we're paying subsidy for Benin Republic, Cameroon, Togo. We're paying subsidy for all of them, plus Nigeria, for 4 whole countries. That even Chad, we're paying subsidy for them, Niger, all. That was the argument back then. But since that time, we have not been able to arrive at a definite figure. What's the figure? Are you telling me that product? I know for a fact, Dayo, that products are still leaving from Cross River State to Cameroon. For a fact, I'm aware. I know people who, this is their business, buy products from here, move it there. It's still going on. We need to fix those very porous borders and get the figures right. The next thing we need to do is de-emphasize the focus on gasoline. Why do I need to drive my car? Because there's no alternative public transportation, right? The next thing I'm going to do is jump into a Choba to my 3 vehicle, dilapidated, squeezed in, COVID infested, everything. You know, the conductor is insulting. And why would you do that? Because there is no decent public transportation available. If we had public transportation, if we had trains, tractors, from my neighbor, 7 kVA generators, not those noisy, very extremely polluting things. If you can supply power, you have already cut 50% off your fuel consumption. And the focus on the price will reduce significantly. These are the facts, Ayo.
Join the conversation. Lines are open right now, 0817-923-0002 or 0003. 0817-923-0007 or 0009. Can take a few calls. Facebook.com/Nigeria Info PH, via Twitter at Nigeria Info PH. Please brief, concise, straight to the point. Tell a hard fact to welcome.
Hello, good evening, Daya. How are you?
Very well, go ahead.
This is set up from Weibo.
Go ahead.
You see, it's quite unfortunate that Nigeria have already entered one challenge. You remember, when this government came on board, he took up emphatically that within 6 months of the administration, all the refineries will be fixed. I am surprised. This is March. They have just 2 months to hit 6 solid years on board, and no single refinery is working. And that is why they are giving excuses. Refinery is not working, and that is what's giving room for skyrocketing of fuel. I mean, this is so sad. I want to put it to you that before these people go down in 2 years' time, go and mark it down today. Fuel will surely hit 300 naira, if not more. Because it is very clear that this government now have totally lose focus.
Oh man, all right, great to hear from you via Twitter. Let's see, at Ikechi Alex tweet, it's unthinkable that in a country where crude is produced, the citizens will be suffering like this for fuel. 913, hello, welcome. All right, go on.
Hello.
Go ahead, please. Go ahead, please.
I want to say very big thank you to the public. I've been listening to the program.
Thank you very much for thanking us. Hello, hot factor, welcome 913.
Good evening, Dayo.
Hi.
Emmanuel calling from Lela Limini.
Emmanuel, you're welcome. Go ahead.
Thank you, Dayo. I want to contribute a brief about this discussion.
Go ahead.
It is quite unfortunate that our president, who is the Minister of Petroleum, I vividly remember that he said that they are going to diversify from petroleum products to agriculture. But up to now, I have not seen any diversification. Instead, he remained as the petroleum and petrol are going on day by day. And I keep asking, where are the Nupen, where are the Tengasin, where are the CUC and every other institution that went on protest during Jonathan regime? Where are they? are playing over our intelligence. We have refinery here. There is no how this government or whosoever will come up and fix the refineries for us to be producing petrol here. Because they have refineries outside. If you look very, very well, you will see that where they are refining these products and their own refineries outside. So it is high time we all stand up and the right to build Nigeria we are ought to have. The man in your studio there, yes, he told us that he was among the people who protested. So what is going on now that they cannot protest against this government?
It's your turn.
Thank you.
All right. Hello, 90.3, welcome.
Another good day. Talk back again.
Okay, no, please do not call back if you called in before. Hello, you're welcome, 90.3.
No, good afternoon.
Okay, I apologize, but there's that horrible sound there. Hello, you're welcome, go ahead.
Hello, Dayo.
All right, go on.
Yes, it appears that some of us are ignorant of the reasons for the increment, if at all there is any increment. You know, we should understand that fuel subsidy, we are now departed from the regime of fuel subsidy. Except if we are saying that government should start continue to pay subsidy, the evil subsidy, then fuel will remain where it is. But as long as government is not paying subsidy and the international price of crude is increasing, there is every tendency that the price of fuel will increase. So they cry. I know why people are crying is because
I want to ask you a question. So if the price of petrol does not go up now, what has happened?
The price of fuel, if it cannot go up, that means federal government is somehow trying to manage the situation. But the truth is that the landing cost is very high now, and that is why most marketers are not importing. It is only NNPC that is importing right now. So they are trying to manage the situation, but that doesn't mean that it might continue like that. The way I'm looking at it, at the time they will not be able to manage it anymore, and it must surely increase. As long as all our refineries are not working and the Dangote refinery is not on stream for now, we should just endure till all these things are in place.
Great to hear from you, sir, but that's so much that I can take via Facebook. Ned Agumar goes, this is the height of wickedness from government of Nigeria. The president, as the petroleum minister, is supposed to feel the hardship that this hike in fuel is causing us today. Today I paid 100 now from Rumosi to Mpolu Junction, which has never happened. They should do everything within their powers to make sure the price of fuel reduces drastically. Can we have to wrap this up right now? Does this simply mean Nigerians should brace up for an increase? Is that what all of this means?
Yes, that's what it means. That's what it means. We have to brace up for an increase, or we have to brace up and force the government to take a radical solution. I think that the government needs to very carefully manage a subsidy. There needs to be a subsidy regime. Dayo, it's after listening to your second to last call, I mean, come on, there needs to be a subsidy regime. You are already the poverty capital of the world. That's what you are. The poverty capital of the world. 60% of your population are considered extremely poor by all standards. COVID-19 has made 40% of the population lose jobs and income. Electricity tariffs have gone up. You want to add, I mean, the value of the naira has been so terribly devastated to the extent things they used to buy for 15 naira is 150 naira right now. All this is happening to the poorest people on earth. And you still want to increase the price of petrol. I'm sorry, you need to reintroduce subsidy. You can't. It's between debt or subsidy. You need to reintroduce a time-bound subsidy and say we will handle subsidy between this time and that time. And then the government should invest everything it's got into building their refineries you can put together in 12 months, in 18 months. You need to immediately start working on that. And then the government can start taking out its own share of crude oil, and then award it directly to those refineries to refine and then distribute. You can't do anything otherwise. Hate subsidy, love subsidy, but you can't do without subsidy at the moment because you're going to drive far, far, far more Nigerians below the poverty line.
Now to wrap on this conversation, I'm sure the coming days and weeks will feature many more discussions on the matter. Thanks for joining, especially my guest, Ken Henshaw, with the people. Always a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you, Dayo. We
got the news update coming up to the hour at 5 p.m. After which I return. And they say arms money is missing under the latest ambassadorial excellencies, aka the ex-service chiefs. Are they still qualified to hold those positions? What I return, stay with us.